Dispelling some Tacoma leasing myths. Good morning, everybody, and how are you today? Pretty good here. Today I wanted to get on and talk about dispelling some Tacoma leasing myths. You know, I put a video up a few days ago that I felt sorry for people that lease their Toyota Tacomas. And I was specifically referring to modding a leased Tacoma, right? But people started talking about leases in general as opposed to just modding a leased Tacoma. And there are a lot of myths out there, a lot of misconceptions about leasing a Toyota Tacoma or any vehicle for that matter. So I want to get on here and kind of address some of those. First of all, I thought I'd go out and look at Toyota's current lease deal. I went out on their site and I looked it up. They're leasing a 2020 Tacoma SR. This is the lower end, right? 4x4 double cab, automatic short bed. And here's the deal. The cost, $209 per month for a 36-month lease, or $7,524. That's what you're liable for so far if you sign up for that lease. Now, at signing, you have to pay $2,999, or let's just say $3,000, right? They're giving you 10,000 miles per year as an allowance. You don't pay anything more if you stay under 10,000 a year, or 30,000 miles for the 3-year term. Now, if you go over, that's going to cost you 15 cents per mile. So for every mile you go over, you pay 15 cents, right? If you were to turn that thing at the end of the lease period. There is also a $350 disposition fee due at the end of the lease. That's money that you pay them at the end of the lease if you just turn it in. So your total cost, if you don't go over in miles, is $10,873. Now, that does not include tax, title, license, or registration fee, or of course the insurance that you have to pay on the truck while you own it. You have to have insurance, right? We'll get to that in a minute. So that's Toyota's current lease deal. That's what it would cost you if you walked in there right now and wanted to lease a 2020 Tacoma SR. So, what about these myths? Well, the first one a lot of people mentioned about was positive equity when you trade it in. That when you go in and drop off that truck, somehow it's going to be worth more than what it was when you leased it. What? I have never, and I've leased many vehicles, turned one in and had the company actually give me money back. It has never happened. So, what does that really mean, positive equity, right? Let's say that maybe that did happen. Maybe you were $5 better off or something, let's say. But did you take into account the money that you spent that you're not going to get back while you were leasing that vehicle, right? I mean, it cost you $10,873 for the privilege of driving or renting or leasing that Tacoma that you are never going to get back. You spent that money to have the truck, right? Now, what about insurance? It costs more money in insurance for a leased vehicle than if you're buying the vehicle. Were you aware of that? More money in insurance than if you were buying the vehicle. Now, a lot of people say that they've gone in and traded in early and they're not obligated for the balance or the remaining payments that they have on the lease. Now, that's a little gray area there. You know, first of all, yeah, you're not going to keep paying for the lease once you turn it in and sign off on the deal, but you are going to pay for it in the numbers on the new truck. Either in higher payments on the new truck to offset those lease payments, or in a reduced value for your trade that the dealer will sell to recoup those payments. But you're never going to walk away from them. You are liable for that. You know, think about renting an apartment, leasing an apartment, right? Let's say that halfway through you just decide you don't want to be there anymore, so you just leave. Does that mean that you suddenly don't owe the rest of those payments? That the landlord can't come after you for those payments? I mean, come on, that is not true. You signed the lease, you're liable for leasing that apartment or your Tacoma until you're done. That's your commitment. Now, they may work it out in the numbers. There may be rebates that bring that liability or commitment that you have down. You may not see it in the numbers and they may not disclose it to you, but they are offsetting the number or the amount of lease payments that you have left that they are going to have to turn around and give to the lease company to get the title to that vehicle. Somebody owns that vehicle, right? It's not just floating out there. And if a dealership is going to, in essence, buy it, and that's the value of whatever it's worth the day that you take it in, plus your lease commitment, they're going to get that money back. They're not going to eat the cost. You know, it's going to be in your numbers, whether it's disclosed or not. Trust me, it's there. I've done it. I've leased many vehicles over the years. I know how it works, and that is how it works. Now, next up, you can have mods installed by the dealership, like a lift, let's say, and it's okay. Well, that's not necessarily true. Again, there is an owner of that vehicle, and when they get it back at the end of that lease period, they want it to be the same way. You're committing that it's going to be the same way. Now, I know a lot of people get confused because they think that the dealership or Toyota and the lessor is the same person. Not necessarily. Sometimes it's a bank, or even if it's a separate division of the dealership or Toyota, most likely, it's not the same. So if you're under that impression, I'd say you're mistaken. Now, that's not to say it can't be true. Maybe, it depends. But get it in writing. And if it is true, they should have no problem putting that in writing for you, right? The dealership, if it's true, should be able to add a blurb on your receipt that says that it's okay when you trade it in. You won't be dinged by adding this lift, right? If it's no big deal, what's the big deal? Now, some people say that leasing is never the way to go. You should never lease. Well, that's not true. Obviously, it depends on your own personal situation, right? I mean, if you lease a vehicle, you're going to have lower payments. And maybe that's all you can afford at the time. So that's the only way you can get into something new that you want. I mean, let's face it, all this is about what we want, right? That you want for a lower payment. If you're a frequent trader, you know, maybe you like to drive a new vehicle every 2 or 3 or 4 years, but you don't want to screw with buying it and getting a loan and all that business. It's a good way to flip out or switch vehicles more frequently if that's just something that you're into. Personal preference. A business write-off. You know, if you're running a business, you can write off those lease payments, right? And if you want to replenish your fleet of vehicles, or maybe you only have a couple, I don't know, maybe you're a delivery service and you have 3 or 4 trucks, and you just want to keep them fresh every year. Fresh so that you don't have to do the maintenance and have that added cost. I mean, this is a business, right? The idea of running a business is to keep as much money as you can for yourself, not spend it on car repairs. So that's another great way to go if you're a business and you want to have new vehicles. You just write it off. Not a big deal. Now, a lot of you may watch some of these humongous YouTubers, right? Especially the ones that deal with supercars and high-end cars. You know, they seem to be trading these things in and out constantly, right? They'll go for a month or two and then they're selling it, they say, or they're trading it, they say. And then a new one appears on the channel. Now, that's not to say that maybe some of these folks don't have agreements with car manufacturers to have their cars on the channels for publicity, for advertising purposes. You know that's happening, right? But what about the other ones? Well, chances are they're leasing. They're writing it off on their taxes as a business expense for the channel. It allows them to have these high-end cars and stay frequent, stay fresh, stay up to date. It provides content. They may be renting these cars. You know, you may see somebody out there, for instance, who has, I don't know, a Lamborghini on the channel for, you know, a couple of months, 3 months. And then they'll come on and talk about trading it off. They want something new. Well, in essence, what they're doing is they're renting that vehicle. You know, it doesn't cost that much, all things considered, when you're looking at a $500,000 car, to rent it for a few months. It gives you content rather. You can write off the cost and you're golden. You're good to go. So there are certain occasions, obviously, where leasing a vehicle is beneficial and even better than buying. It just depends on your own personal situation. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here and dispel some of these Toyota Tacoma leasing myths or misconceptions that are out there. You know, people always come up with their own ideas or theories as to how things work or why people should do this or that or whatever. Like I said, I've leased many a vehicle in my time. I know how it works. I've lived it. I've done it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Also, I'd be curious to know if indeed you've leased a vehicle, and be honest. Given all the expenses, if you've really walked away ahead of where you were when you walked in the door and signed that paperwork at the beginning of the lease. Also, real quick, if you haven't before and you're interested, check out my other channel. It is Robmotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator up there. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.